All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bessemer Lake Erie and HO scale. I'm Ray Brown. Lots of updates. We have had the most snow I ever remember having here in my little town of Girard, Pennsylvania. We are just west of Erie. Made the news quite a bit. We're pushing near 70 inches of snow. That's getting close to the 2-meter mark for my European friends that watch. I will drop some pictures at the end of the video. But, big update here. You can see I got cinders laid in the engine terminal and ballast on the main line out around the peninsula here. Painted the fascia. And I'm calling this section done for now. More to do, obviously. Got a lot of detail left to do. Got labeling to do on the fascia, but we're going to call it good for now. So, got the local pulling in here with some new cars on this train. First 3 box cars came to me courtesy of Mark Monroe. Thank you, Mark, for those. Was able to get metal wheels in them, and everything gauged up good, and they're looking great, running great on the layout. Some gondolas I was able to pick up at the Erie Model Train Show this November, and this brass caboose I've had on the layout, but I did finally get it changed over to KD truck, so it's not squeaking anymore. That's definitely running a lot better. Took me, oh gosh, better part of a week to get all the cinder work here done, and the ballasting. The cinders are just woodland scenics. I don't do anything special and do what everybody else does. I just carefully spread it out and wet it with isopropyl and glue it down with 50-50 white glue. And I do just use white glue. I don't use matte medium. I might try it. I've never used it before. 223 passing by here in the front. This is a total foobie. I was one of those people that was out of the hobby for a while. When I came back, I said, what the heck is DCC? So this was just a Bachmann steam engine I picked up, and I used it to teach myself a bunch of stuff, including putting a decoder in an engine. That's just got a TCS MC2 non-sound decoder in it. Put LED light bulbs in it and relettered it. Did some weathering. It was just kind of like a test bed engine for me, but it looks pretty good. It runs pretty good. I like to get it out and run it once in a while. Anyway, back to what we got done here. So, I think I pointed out in my last update, I went ahead and painted all the track. And, doing the fast track switches, you don't have to be careful about painting them. You can just go ahead and paint them. And all the electrical stuff works just fine because it doesn't rely on the points touching anything for the power pickup. But then the way I do my ballast and cinder work, since I laser cut my own ties, I make the head ties just kind of be a rectangle, and I just keep the ballast out of that square. So which means I just got to be a little bit careful as I'm spreading around, getting up to it. But then, you can see that switches are working just fine. But I think it made a huge difference. I think it looks a lot more done. Yeah, real happy with it. I was able to, kind of on a whim, get out to the Age of Steam Roundhouse on their last tour of the year and see the 643. So got my 643 out on the turntable here, along with motor car number 1 sitting there idling in the background. Really impressive what they've done with that engine in a very short time. You can see how far I got around over here. And that's all the further I'm going to go right now until, I got a lot more roughing in for scenery back there. I'm going to stand back a little bit here just to sense what it looks like with the fascia painted. I think it just looks fabulous. Like I said, I'm happy. Woodland Scenics for the cinders, and then the ballast is Scenic Express. I think this is just the mixed ballast. And then for painting the track, I use the camouflage brown that a lot of people use on all the secondary tracks, and I just used Rust-Oleum flat brown on the main, and I wanted to do that to give it a little bit of a different look, and I like the way it turned out once it was all ballasted. So I think I'll keep this as my standard. Anyway, enough of me yapping on about that. So let's take a quick look. And by the way I painted the fascia, and I just had a roller, and I would just take a pair of screws out, and I'd roll a little bit, put those screws back in, take the next screws out, roll a little bit, and I just kept going. It didn't take long at all. Next thing to talk about, had this little SW7. Bessemer Mike painted this guy for me. It was undecorated. That's the word I'm looking for. So he did the paint job for me, and I put the decals on it. I like the way it turned out. TCS in that, and scale sound speaker. Oops, wrong engine. Let's try this one. I think it sounds just fabulous. So let's go ahead and shove these cars into the track for coal and sand for the steam side. See some trains rolling through the engine terminal here. And we'll spot those right about there. So I really like how this switch engine turned out. My long-term vision for that is probably going to be the engine that works 12th Street Erie scene, which is where that engine actually worked most of the time anyway. And as you can see, everything's still rolling nice and smooth after the ballast application. That was something spent some time doing. Of course, I turned the wrong switch on. Let's turn that one. I'll leave the 285 on the fuel track here. And that, of course, here was my switches to isolate that track and kill the power to it. All right. So yeah, that's the big news. Hang around. I got a couple other things I'll share with you here. With all the weather and all the snow, it's just been a good time to be in the basement doing modeling. I did get the second bridge built for Bridge 38. Kind of walk you through that here in a second, if you're interested. This is just a plastruct kit. So that'll be going in back here on the prototype. Those are twin side-by-side truss bridges. And then the other thing, that's 7 more roundhouse hoppers built. So built what I'll call my way. Got the metal wheels. The truck's painted the camouflage with the rusted out springs. I glued the extra weight in the bottom. And yeah, they roll really nice. Perform really well. If you haven't seen my video of the 100-car train running, it's 100 of these. I think they run just as good as anything you'd buy today. Maybe don't have quite as much detail, but hey, when you got this many hopper cars, who's looking at them all? The other thing, finally got my old janky monitor, that guy, down, and picked up a great deal on some of these curved monitors on Amazon. I actually got 4, so I got 2 more to get up here. I just haven't got them set up yet. And this is working towards this being my dispatcher panel someday, which means I did bring down the big heavy tower. This is where I do my solid modeling and whatnot for my 3D CAD work for printing. But I'll get JMRI transferred over to that computer and get it running the railroad here. That tower I got a screaming deal on. It's insanely powerful. But it didn't have onboard Wi-Fi. It came with like a little USB. In fact, I think this is it. And it came with one of these. And this little pocket PC that I had running my JMRI and laser and everything else, which has worked fine. The only thing it really didn't do was run SolidWorks. But the Wi-Fi in that would connect to the router upstairs, no problem. But that little guy wouldn't. So I had to run hardwire network cable, and that's what you see going up here and goes over the other side of the wall and up and plugs into my router. Which turned out to be a really good thing to do, because when SolidWorks updates, it takes forever over the Wi-Fi. Now that it's plugged right in, it does it really fast. So that was a good move. These monitors, if anybody's looking for monitors, these are, what's the brand name here? You can see there. Scepter, 24-inch curved monitor. I think they came as a 2-pack, so I got 2 2-packs, and I think I paid like $300 for all 4 of them. And I mean, they're 1080p, real nice. No complaints. So if you're looking for monitors, it might be a time to go looking. And then last thing, I did manage to pick up another tunnel motor. I got the 910 sitting here. Picked this up from Gabe, known as GT Railfan, if you see him on YouTube or Facebook. So thanks to him for getting me a good deal on that. And I, of course, scale sound speaker in it and TCS. This goes with the other tunnel motor I have, and I just picked up a third one, so that'll make the trio for those. No, I'm not losing focus or losing my mind. This is a 1953-ish transition era Bessemer layout, but I always intended to have at least a set of power from all eras of the Bessemer. So I'll pick up some Illinois Central Death Stars here eventually too, and also the other way. I want to eventually pick up some 440s and 460s. Uh, just to not to have a ton of it, but just enough that I could have a train if I wanted to pull one out and run it. Just to kind of complete the collection, but not switching to modern or anything like that. Oh gosh, I almost forgot. The other thing I did. So I added this little bump out up at Fredonia on the second deck. I've been planning on doing this for a while. This was always in the plan. So why this is going to be here is just to give a space for the depot at Fredonia and to have the road cross. So there'll be a road crossing, the depot for Fredonia, and Fredonia Feed and Hardware will be the industry there. So just enough to kind of give some space for a scene and a station stop at Fredonia. So that's up there. And then along with that, the thing that was a later addition, later thought, was I added in this wedge here on the lower deck. And that is where I left this track in a while ago when I rebuilt this junction. The track coming this way will be the lead for the Allegheny Industrial District, but this will be the interchange for the Cheswick and Harmar, the C&H, which in the later days, saw very few moves, and it was just some special loads coming out of Westinghouse. But in the 50s, there would have been a pretty good amount of coal coming off the C&H, so this will be a spot for, maybe just changing in and out, even just a dozen coal hoppers, and some of those special loads out of Westinghouse. The trick with this one was getting it in so it's removable, because it is over my pressure tank. I think I could get the pressure tank out anyway, but I just wanted to make sure. And it is the only thing on the layout that is obstructing home infrastructure at all. That was a big part of the design of this layout was, there's nothing that has to come apart to work on the house. I'm a big home DIYer. I wanted to make sure I didn't do anything I'd live to regret. So this might be the one exception, but I definitely built it thinking ahead about how that would work if I had to take it out. So not sure when I'll get track on that, but it's there. I did both those things on the last day before the blizzard hit. I had some time off and figured I'd get out in the barn and cut some wood. So happy with how all that turned out. I do have some other things I'm working on, but not quite ready to show those just yet. I think we'll leave that as a future surprise. And yeah, hang around. I'll show some video of that new tunnel motor running, and kind of walking through building one of those plastruct bridges. If you're thinking about building one of those, probably worth a watch. I don't know if I'd call it a how-to, but you get an idea what goes into it. And yeah, sharing what we're going to call finish on the engine terminal, and moving on to some other stuff. Obviously with the second bridge at Bridge 38 done there, I think track work for the interchange at Shenango is climbing the list of things that's going to happen. That'd be a big win operationally for ops, and I think another ops session is going to be in the future here soon. So, all right, I'll stop rambling and hang out for some other clips if you like. Thanks for watching. everybody. Welcome back to the layout. Except we're not at the layout. We're sitting in my living room, working on my coffee table, watching some movies, working on the second bridge at Bridge 38. This will be the lead to Shenango Yard. This is the kit. It's a plastruct kit for this truss bridge. Pretty simple. Not a ton of detail to it, but I think it looks good. I like it. I built the other one in South Carolina. It was on my layout there. So just building a companion bridge to that. And when I bought the first one, I thought it would be a kit like everything else. Take the parts out of the gates and put it together, and there you go. That's not what these plastruct kits are. You just get a pile of I-beam and a bunch of this thin plastic, and instructions look about like this. So they tell you, take that thin plastic, cut these out with scissors, and then use them as templates to cut them out of the scissors with that thin plastic. And then take all that I-beam and cut pieces to this length, quantity and how many. And then they show you different ways that the ends might have to be mitered and how it all goes together. So yeah, there's work in these. So far I've cut most of the pieces. The bottom piece, you actually have to cut two pieces and glue it together in the middle. And then 10 uprights. I got all those 10 uprights within about plus or minus 5 on my calipers. That's 5/1000ths of an inch. If you're a machinist toolmaker type, the 1,000th of the inch kind of becomes your standard unit of measure. So if you say it's within 5, that implies 5/1000ths of an inch. Anyway, kind of what I got going on here is the beginnings of a couple trusses here, and obviously this is a lot of painstaking work, so a little nicer to sit here on my couch and watch TV, put this together. This is just an old junk coffee table anyway. So kind of see what I got going on here. I got, the first couple beams put in. I just use 1, 2, 3 block as a square to start putting stuff together. And then I'll come over here, take another one of these pieces I cut, and we'll get it in there and get it all nice and square and glue that one in. And then I'll find center between those two pieces, kind of mark it with my calipers, and we'll glue those center pieces in. And then here's the pieces already cut for the end beams, and those will have to go in there, and you see I'll have to miter those. And I'm just using, a little hobby saw miter box, get that done, and we'll put this together. And then once you get it all together, paint it all, looks pretty good when it's all together. I like the one that's down there. So we'll keep going on this, make some progress, and update you on the next one. All right, a little bit further along here, I got the two main trusses put together. I did bring up the other bridge just so I could compare them side by side, make sure I'm making a good, true copy, since these will be immediately next to each other. So got that done. I just gotta cut out all the little pieces for the gusset plates. And one thing I did that was kind of fun, I really hated mitering these end pieces. So to make these ones in the middle, I'd done a pretty good enough job putting all the verticals together that all the spacing, everything was within about 10 thousandths. Space to space, top to bottom, and girder to girder. So I just drew up a quick jig and printed it, and I just laid the I-beams in there and was just able to file them off flush, kind of like a fast tracks tool. And then these gussets went in. I didn't have to fit one of them; they all just went perfect. So that was kind of slick. So I'll glue on the gusset plates here. I got most of the pieces cut that'll go in between top and bottom. And once we get there, we'll kind of be starting to get to be in the home stretch. I've got a lot of hours in this already. There's so many pieces to saw, miter, sand, fit. So yeah, not a bad kit. I'm almost hesitant to call it a kit. It's more like a scratch build that they just give you all the material for. But I would not start on one of these if you've never really built anything before. Or, jump in both feet and what the heck. After this, kits that actually have parts that you just assemble seem easy. But I do like how the finished bridge turns out. The one I got here, that's almost 10 years old, and it's held up real well. It's real strong when it's all together. Anyway, we'll keep getting it together here. All right, so got all the horizontal pieces in, top and bottom. Still got a couple little pieces on the end here to put in, and starting to look like a bridge now. This probably seemed quick. I've been working on this another day since the last clip. All these horizontal pieces, they all have to get cut to length, the ends squared up good. Try to get them the same length within, 5 thousandths of an inch or so. Just so it's all nice and square. And so now I'm cutting these beams here, which the track actually is laying on. So you got to fit them to fit in between these beams going this way, and you got to notch the ends to kind of fit up under that flange. So I try to get the length within about, again, 5 thousandths or so, and I just turn it in there so it's nice and snug. You got to get two pair that, they're both kind of snug in together so they cement in nice. And I use some spacers to get them, parallel from the edge, and then lay a piece on the top to get them flush with the top. It's a lot of futzing around, but getting there. Don't have too many left to do. And then after that, I'll just be putting on gusset plates and all the diagonal bracing, which, if I remember from building that other one, that part starts going real quick. So I think we're almost through the worst of it. I do like how these bridges turn out, but man, a lot of work cutting everything, like all those little notches. I mean, cut it to length, get the ends square. I'm doing that just with my V-block and sanding block, and then notching them and getting it all to fit. It's a lot of messing around, but I like the way it turns out. All right, we'll check back in a minute. All right, another day has passed, and the bridge is looking kind of done. We got all these little gussets cut, all the little plates cut out and glued in between everything. All those cross braces on the top and the bottom. So at this point, we're going to give it a nice quick wash in some warm soapy water. Let it dry good. Give it a coat of paint, and while all that's happening, we'll start getting the bridge track ready to put in there. I still have a section of leftover bridge track from another project. And it's a little ugly right now between all the sanding and the glue and everything else. I learned on the last one that paint just covers all that up. It just doesn't matter. Like all these scuffs down here from sanding stuff, it'll just disappear. So I was way too careful on my first one. So we'll see how this one goes. These beams that go down the middle here for the track to sit on, I was really pleased with how they turn out for all being individual pieces. They look nice and straight and flat. Really can't stress that was not easy. But there it is, and yeah, we'll come back when we start getting some paint on it. Okay, well, got this painted, and kind of last step here is gluing in the bridge track. Just using super glue, and I like to make sure it's seated good, so I got a bunch of weight sitting there, and even though the super glue grabs almost instantly, I'll leave it sit here for a couple hours. But you can kind of see how it all turned out with the paint on it. Looks pretty much just like the other one it'll be next to, so that's what I wanted. Yeah, think this turned out pretty good. We'll just come back and take one last look at it with the weights out of it. All right, well, here it is done. Let's see, got the bridge track in. All painted up. Looks pretty good. So, not really ready for it over here. But kind of see I had this track back here mocked up. So this bridge will go roughly right behind that one. This will be the bridge 38 scene. And I'll probably make like a concrete arch bridge for the KO line back there. Something pretty crude, I'm sure. And then this track coming off will be the lead for the yard at Shenango. And then there'll be a little 4-track yard back there for the yard, small yard. So this bridge will just be for the main, and the back bridge is just the yard lead. At least that's how it's going to be on my layout. Okay, well, that was a fun build. Took quite a long time to do, but I think it turned out good. I like it. I think it's a good match for the companion there that I probably built more than 10 years ago. So, cool.